It was a rocky ride for boats in and out of the harbour, the strong southerly swell showing little respect for the massive bulk carriers. Peaking at more than 6 metres, the swell had dropped from a high of 10 metres yesterday, but that was still enough to provide a spectacular entry into port. The pilot boat almost unrecognisable amid the huge seas. Beaches were empty along the coast, but that didn't stop some surfers braving the cold for a wave. Winds reaching around 80 kilometres an hour caused minor problems on the headland. Corrugated iron torn from the roof of this townhouse. At Cook's Hill, a prize worth braving the cold for. The Great Von Berto Wait is on again. A group of art enthusiasts already lining up for the Friday night opening of the gallery. They'll be given a sneak preview tonight. Matthew White, NBN News.
Winds of discontent are blowing around the East End, a southerly gale doing its best to upset the planned November 5th auction, which advertises the unlimited potential of the site. But, according to some, historical short-sightedness could cost the community dearly.
This headland here is public land, and it's a vital part of Newcastle Beach, and it should be reserved in perpetuity for the people of Newcastle.
The land is now leased from the government and could remain that way for more than 20 years, but its sale for millions of dollars to a developer could see it lost to the public. During the 1800s, there was a large jail built on the site. It gradually fell into disrepair. Its foundations eventually lost under the tarmac of the bus depot, and in the 1960s, the concrete of the Travelodge Motel. Historians fear development could destroy forever any remaining artefacts and are lobbying for preservation measures.
No, we're not turning it into a museum.
The Community Forum is seeking the support of City Council, the Trades Hall and the Chamber of Commerce to help it find a sympathetic use for the site.
So let's make sure that we develop it properly in conjunction with the other key sites around the city and not cut off all our options at the start by rushing headlong into an inappropriate sale.
While Newcastle may still be smarting at missing out on the Anzac Frigates contract 3 years ago, Gunninan has secured some of the spoils for the city by signing a $4 million contract with the Marg Gear Company. The Broadmeadow engineering firm is to produce, in conjunction with the Swiss company, reduction gearboxes for the project that Newcastle so desperately wanted. Despite the city's past disappointment, Gunninan's chief executive John Fitzgerald predicted after the signing that the agreement could herald a bright future in this area of manufacturing.
It puts us right at the forefront of high technology type of manufacture in this equipment.
Mr Fitzgerald says while the contract will create only an extra 5 jobs, it will introduce an enormous skills boost that could be sought internationally.
The key thing I see will be the interchange of the technology between Marg and ourselves and the improvement and the lifting of the skill base, just once again in another facet of Gunninan's operations.
Marg representatives at the gathering indicated this agreement could be the start of a united push by the two companies to break into new international markets, particularly in the Asia-Pacific region.
I can envision that we can probably develop a standard product that could be the ongoing business, and that would be the future here.
And what's perhaps sweetest to Newcastle, both companies said more Anzac Frigates work, worth millions of dollars, could be coming Gunninan's way as a result of this initial contract. Scott Bevan, NBN News.
Adopted as an economy measure in Britain during World War I, daylight saving, or summertime as it was known, has become part of life in many countries worldwide. Love it or loathe it, it seems daylight saving is here to stay. While many dread the hours less sleep, the creamless milk and fading curtains, our psychologist Trevor Waring doesn't seem to have a problem with it at all. Thanks, Trevor. Well, that's the words of the expert, but we took to the streets to find out what you think about daylight saving.
Yes and no. Yes, it's good to spend time on the weekends, you spend more time with your kids, but no, through the school days, you've got to try and get them out of bed, and it's too much of a hassle.
Going to work in the dark is a bit of a hassle, but you got plenty of time in the afternoon. Then again, you work a lot harder too in the afternoon at home. Yeah.
Well, we don't like it because there's more daylight crime, so that boosts our crime figures up.
I like it. I think it's good. You have more time of an afternoon to do what you want to do. But the mornings are a bit dark, but that doesn't matter. We can sleep in a little bit more. But other than that, I think it's very good and I like it.
Because more people are out. They come out more when it's lighter and it's really good.
Do more people eat ice cream at daylight saving?
Yes. It gets very busy.
Because you get to do heaps more stuff in the afternoons and stuff like that. You get to stay out late at night and play on the road.
You get to stay out on the beach more and just get to stay out longer.
How do you feel about daylight saving?
It doesn't really bother me.
We go boating a lot, so I like it for that reason. We can stay out in the lake a bit longer.
How do you feel about daylight saving?
I don't like it much at all. We're from Queensland and we just like the weather the way it is.
Daylight saving is fantastic. You know, you can start work in the morning and when you come home from work at night and there's still plenty of daylight left and you can do something in the yard, or if you want to work harder, you can, right? All this rubbish about the curtains being faded and all that sort of stuff, that's rubbish.
It's good. It's great. I get up earlier, I'm perkier, kids can play longer, they have a really good time. And we haven't got cows, so, it really doesn't affect us that bad.
I love it. We love it in New Zealand. I'm from Christchurch in New Zealand. It came in about 2 weeks ago, and we love it. We have such a long day. I get home from work at night and, we go off to the beach of an evening. We love it at home. Some of the farmers at home don't like it so much. They're up milking the cows in the dark in the morning and, we love it.
And I think it's fantastic in as much as I'm from Europe and I'm used to daylight saving time, and I think when the summer comes in we need the long hours so we can enjoy ourselves and have more barbecues and we'll stop.
With more light you can stay out longer, you can feel safer catching the bus home, you can party longer, you can stay at the beach longer, you got more sun, more time to get a tan.
Because you've just got so many more hours in the day, you can go out after you finish work and at least go for a jog or go to the beach. It's good.
What about the mornings?
It's lighter in the morning, isn't it?
No, a bit darker.
A bit darker. Oh, that's okay because I sleep in anyway, so it doesn't matter.
If you want to do something and that, get up an hour earlier in the morning. That's what I think anyway.
Statistics indicate crime is decreasing in Moree, but a recent surge in vandalism has locals worried. The police blamed the attacks on drug and alcohol abuse among young people and a lack of parental control, and some citizens agree.
It seems to me that in our society, and in particular in Moree, there's a breakdown of respect of authority in this town, a total breakdown of respect of authority. And I would suggest to you and to everyone here that the adults don't exactly set a good example for our children.
Others blame politicians.
The parents no longer can control the kids, and neither does police, in my opinion, because it's hamstrung by the political decisions and laws which lots of times do not work.
With legislative changes unlikely in the near future, various people at the meeting proposed plans to curb street crime, some suggesting a council-led, community-based solution.
The council can appoint wardens, honorary wardens, or rangers, and there was no reason at all why these honorary rangers couldn't be appointed to sectional patrols based on the nuclei of the neighbourhood watch system.
Oh, number 3 in the suit.
If you're like me and you really only have one better year, and that's on the Melbourne Cup, then you're probably not quite sure how to fill out one of these. Well, if you want to have a flutter on the cup, the best way is to ask an expert. Marketing Director of the TAB, Ken Page, was on hand to instruct this keen but naive punter. Ken, what is the best way for once-a-year punters to have a flutter on the cup?
Well, on this particular day, Merrill, I'd suggest a sweep ticket. It costs $1. All you do is pay $1, pop a ticket in our computer, and you could win $500,000. Now, the other easy way is on Cup Day, tomorrow, then I suggest you take a mystery bet. And again, a mystery trifecta costs $1, you get 3 numbers, they go first past the post, and you've got big, big money.
So with a mystery bet, you just get given any numbers, but if those 3 horses come in, then you're in the money.
I'd expect something around $5,000 to $10,000 just for $1.
Now what about if you're a dyed-in-the-wool punter and you really want to have an educated bet?
Well, there are many ways to double your money, treble your money, or perhaps go for the big outsider. But usually we find the most money is won on trifectas, and that means picking 1, 2, 3 in order. And there are various ways to do that, but that's where I think there'll be something like $8 million invested on the trifecta on this year's Melbourne Cup.
So what's the difference, say, between a standout trifecta and a normal trifecta?
You are an experienced punter, after all.
No, not really.
A standout trifecta is one where you pick one horse to win and other horses to run second and third.
Who determines the odds and how do they work?
Well, basically a totalisator is money in the hat. All the bets are collected together, put into one common pool, and then the pool is divided by the number of people who pick the winner. It's as simple as that.
Ken, how much money will we bet on the Cup this year?
Around about $150 million, and that is around Australia.
Australia-wide?
Mm-hmm.
And what time's the race starting this year?
3:30, spot on.
A little bit later this year?
Yes, last year and again this year they've gone from this traditional 2:40 start to a 3:30 start. And I'm hoping that fits in with all the ladies who leave their Melbourne Cup parties and have to pick their children up from school afterwards.
Why is it starting later this year?
Purely a Victorian decision. It is a public holiday down there, and with daylight saving, I think they're trying to keep people at the racecourse as long as possible.
And Ken, what's the tab tip for the Cup?
The official tab tip is bet early and avoid the rush. But if you'd like a private selection, then you should have your money on a horse called Sub-Zero.
Ooh, and does the tab have special opening hours for Cup Day?
Yes, we'll be late to open until very late tonight, and then we'll be back on deck at 7:30 a.m. Cup Day.
And when can I collect my winnings on the Cup?
Very confidently, 10 minutes after the race.
I'll be here, Ken. OK, Ken, let's get down to some serious betting. How can I win some money?
You must firstly say how much you'd like to invest. And it is an investment, I should advise you.
Oh, OK, I think I've got $5.
Oh, for $5? Then I suggest you mark the $5 column on this ticket.
OK.
And the next thing you must do is which horse number?
Well, I was born on the 3rd, so how about number 3?
Oh, what a great way to pick a winner. Cross the number 3, take that ticket to the TAB terminal, pop it in, pay your $5, and your bet is on the Melbourne Cup.
As simple as that.
As simple as that.
We'll be rich. Thanks a lot for that. Just remember on Cup Day, you can't pay by cheque, so bring your cash or your credit cards. And if you're still having trouble with your bet, then look for someone in a yellow cap. Happy punting.
Monday morning coming down. The beginning of another week. You try to put on a happy face. But something is waiting. Something is in the air. Slowly, like something from science fiction, it circulates until...
We alienate ourselves from nature, and by virtue of that alienation we become progressively less healthy because the world we're creating for ourselves is not a world we're meant to live in.
In other words, we walk into the office after a weekend of fresh air and the air conditioning makes us sick. Our bodies even have to produce antibodies to fight off our artificial ambience. The answer? Clean ducts, of course. Professor Lara from Newcastle University also suggests a proliferation of plants in the workplace. They're the perfect purifier. But before you make a mental note to use this story as an excuse next Monday... So, Professor, the message to those people who don't want to come in on Monday is that, unfortunately, they do have to come in so they can therefore get sick to go home again.
Well, that's one good way of looking at it. What we would suggest is if you are coming in on Monday morning and you're not looking forward to it, bring a plant with you, and we can assure you that if you bring a plant and do a little bit of exercise during the day and get outside when you can, that you'll feel a lot better about being there at the end of Monday.
So, there you go. The truth behind one of our most... The formal part of the Minister's Maitland tour, a visit to Maitland Primary School.
Boys and girls, I'm Minister for the Environment.
There, Mr. Harcher presented an award to the school band, winner of the 1992 Star Quest competition. In return, the school gave the minister some homegrown compost. He accepted the bag of worms as a welcome change from the usual cans opened in Parliament. The main issue in Maitland, wetlands. Mr. Harcher has invited community input and submissions in the hope of forming a wetlands management plan.
They're clearly important. They're used not only by fish, but they're also an important part of the roosting of migratory birds. And wetlands everywhere are now understood to have a great significance for the whole ecosystem.
National Parks and Wildlife will investigate 6 sites singled out by land care groups as areas of major importance. Anthony Griffiths, NBN News.
Designed by the Roads and Traffic Authority, the Road Wise campaign is targeting the driving danger group, the under-25s. It was launched today at Erina High School. Students from years 10, 11 and 12 getting a lesson from police on drink driving, speeding and road safety.
We're trying to now educate people before they get on the roads so that we're not seen to be picking on them, I would assume, would be the easiest way to look at it.
With the use of videos, pamphlets and posters, police are trying to break down the barriers with students.
They're normally lectured at and not spoken to, so we're trying to speak to them.
And the message seems to be getting across.
It's your risk and your car and your licence, and you might be putting other people in danger, and like the innocent victim.
People speed and they also drink, and they think that they'll be all right just because they've had a few more than they should have. It's fine to just drive and stuff. When it's not, it's wrong. You shouldn't.
The campaign will also be launched in Newcastle next week. Matthew White, NBN News.
Overburden ratio of approximately 4 to 1.
There were no classes for these youngsters today, just centre stage at the Griffith Duncan Theatre at Newcastle Uni for the 22nd East Lakes Primary School's Cultural Festival. It's the first day of a week-long music fest involving 37 schools and more than 5,000 children, all aspiring performers. The emphasis is on culture, everything from the Hawaiian wave to the kangaroo hop. The youngsters will be treading the boards for 2 sessions a day until Thursday, learning the rules of singing, dancing and being cute.
Today's protest was a visual demonstration rather than one which provoked confrontation. Around 20 NEFA members set up camp outside the gates of the Tea Gardens plant. The group has been campaigning on the North Coast over what it sees as the monopoly of North Coast timber quotas by the Booral Company. Andrew Kilvert, a small miller from Kyogle on the far North Coast, showed what he could do with a log which would be used by Booral for wood chips.
We've demonstrated by sawing it up that we can actually value add this product rather than ship it out of the country as a raw material.
Instead of turning the leftover logs into worthless wood chips, the group believes they'd be better used by small operators.
This could be used for lightweight building material, 4x2s or 3x2s, or it could be used for furniture making.
Resources Manager of Boral, George Day, says the small operators are welcome to the logs and denies Boral has a monopoly on North Coast supplies. The Tea Gardens plant is Boral's only wood chip operation. For those employees keeping a watch on the gate, today's exercise was all a bit of a yawn. NEFA activists will travel to Sydney to join in a larger protest outside Parliament House. This time, they'll be demonstrating against the New South Wales Government's proposed natural resources package.
There'll be speakers there, including Peter Garrett from the Australian Conservation Foundation and some speakers from the New South Wales Aboriginal Lands Council. We'll also be setting up information displays out the back of Parliament House in the domain for people to inform themselves.
Jodie McKay, NBN News.
He admits to 30-something and knows with the advancing years that a level of fitness must be maintained on a 12-month basis, as it's just too hard to have a holiday and hope to get to match trim as quickly as days gone by. But for a player like Al Green, training and playing has been a way of life ever since he joined the National Basketball League with the West Adelaide Bearcats way back in 1981. Green linked with the Falcons in 1991 and has been solid, but this past season had plenty of lows before finishing with a rush to be outstanding. He knows the task ahead isn't easy.
Sometimes it becomes a mind game as well. You know, you're trying to please everybody. Instead of trying to please everybody, sometimes you have to please yourself. And I think at the end or in the middle of the season, I'll put that to my mind and say, hey, Al, just go out and play the way you can play and stop worrying about the other people.
If Green can reproduce the form he showed towards the latter part of this season, the Falcons will definitely improve. That's been said for many a pre-season without results.
I thought the first year I came out here, I thought the same way. I was saying, well, with that team we had with Jerry Everett and James Bullock, I said, yeah, wait till you see the Falcons for the next year. Then the next year when we changed everything up, brought Terry in, Everett in, and Paul Kuiper, I said the same thing now. I'm going to be a little shy about the whole situation and just ask God up above to help us.
And as for those who want to write mean Al Green off?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I'm just going to tell people to watch out for next year because they haven't seen the end of me yet.
So far in the Coca-Cola National Soccer League, varying degrees of success for the Eagles and the Breakers. The Breakers' defence has been sound, allowing only 5 goals, 2 of those in their last home match against South Melbourne, while only scoring on 3 occasions themselves, with those goals due mainly to individual efforts, leaving the Breakers third last on the ladder, but only 4 points from the 4th spot. At the other end of the table lies Parramatta Melita Eagles, a stunning start to the 1992 season, having won 3, drawn 2 and only lost once. And it's been goals like these that have set the Eagles apart. And ironically, Marshall Soper was freely tipped to join the Breakers in season 1992-93. However, tonight at Mitre 10 Stadium in Newcastle, the Breakers will look to attack on all occasions while being keen to keep Parramatta scoreless. Each cup tie is played on a home and away basis, and a win away from home carries double points.
The Savage family has sold 170 hectares of Greenpoint to Lake Macquarie builders D.F. McCloy Proprietary Limited. Today, the new owner, Jeff McCloy, issued a statement saying his firm is aware of the community debate over Greenpoint and any submission placed before Lake Macquarie City Council will accommodate the best interests of the community. The company is considering 3 development options for the site. One of them involves large portions of the property being handed as a gift to the people of Lake Macquarie. This would entail the development of residential home sites, hotel, convention facilities and a foreshore parkland. Under a second option, a developer could apply to use the land for a wide range of purposes, including commercial or recreational use. The third option would be for Lake Macquarie Council to resume the site and compensate the owner for its valuation.
McCloys are assembling a team of architects and engineers to develop a total concept for Green Point. Issues raised in numerous consultant reports about the area's environmental value will be taken into account. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
In the decades where mini miners and bell-bottom trousers were all the rage, in Newcastle so was Shipmates, a takeaway food store built in the 1940s and famous for its fresh fish and chips. Situated at the top of Hunter Street, the shop was pulled down in the early 70s, making way for Pacific Park. Back in the shop's heyday, 85-year-old Gordon Edwards owned a hairdressing salon adjacent to Shipmates. Gordon says for both young and old, a visit to town wasn't complete without a pit stop at Shipmates.
Well, it'd be nothing to perhaps find 10 people, waiting at the front of the shop to be served. The young people used to come up and on their way to the beach and back from the beach, and they'd all seem to know about Shipmates.
So what was it that attracted folks from near and far, particularly for the chips?
And I wouldn't let the girls leave a chip more than half an hour after it was cooked.
Why is that?
Oh, because after about half an hour, chips get a taste like a peanut taste, and then they get a flavourless taste.
Clem believes people are looking for the traditions Shipmates represented, so the store is reopening in the new Wharf Road markets. Clem says chips cooked in the old style will be a feature, as will other Australian cultures like butcher paper wrapped fish and chips and milkshakes served in stainless steel containers.
I don't feel it's as nostalgic, say, as Arnott's biscuits or something like that, but I still feel that it has a certain amount about it.
Newcastle Medical School lecturer Dr Phil Hazel says a pattern has formed.
Firearm suicides feature prominently as a method of suicide amongst young people in our local region. It's an obvious area to look at in terms of suicide prevention.
In the last 25 years, 42 males under the age of 24 took their own lives. 23 of those used a gun. In contrast, just 6 girls committed suicide over the same period. That's a ratio of 7 to 1. The figures reflect a national trend. Dr Hazel says males being more aggressive and impulsive are more likely to use a firearm. The gun debate still rages. Dr Hazel says restricting access to firearms will curb the number of suicides, especially in teenage ranks.
Certain people may be able to get access to guns if they by devious means, but if you restrict guns or licence guns, that certainly has an effect on the gun ownership in a state.
Anyone contemplating suicide is urged to contact Lifeline. Meanwhile, the recently formed Shooters Party is making its political presence felt in the Hunter. The Singleton branch was formed last weekend with more than 100 members. Other branches in Muswellbrook and Maitland are due to be launched in the next couple of weeks. Anthony Griffiths, NBN News.